To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise. A promise of adventure. A promise of excitement. A promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
What's up, the internet? It's Kyle. I'm coming to you live from the Bat Cave, which is a cave that houses a large gentleman who fights crime nocturnally. This is Talking Shop. You don't normally see me doing this, but I have a friend I want to introduce you to who makes a comic that is on Kickstarter right now, and so on and so forth. I just had that thing where my brain plays the Windows reset music. So before that happens again, let me bring on the reason why we're here, creator of Ninja Bear and also loud, bald, bearded man, Mark Mullaney.
Are we going to change the name of the show to like the loud, bald, talking hour or something?
Well, so I have a friend who's named Peapod, who is also bald and bearded, and we have a hashtag bald and bearded, and then we have the joke is that the bald bearded man is yelling into the abyss because he hosts a podcast too.
But isn't Bebop the one who had hair? Rocksteady was the bald rhinoceros.
He is a pod. Yes.
I'll take. I don't care.
Bald bearded men are yes.
I'll mishear things just to make Ninja Turtles references from the 80s. That's what I do.
Right, that's fair. But no, Peapod is a vegetable-based, vegetable-named podcaster who does a music podcast.
A vegetable-based podcaster.
Right, vegetable-named podcaster, yes. So
all podcasts are vegetable-based.
Yes, it's true. So we can just go round and round and just goof off for the whole hour. But we're here to do a job, so maybe we should.
Maybe we should.
Mark makes a book called The Ninja Bear, or Ninja Bear without the the.
With the yeah.
Yeah. And Ninja Bear currently is running a Kickstarter to put out Volume 3, Issue 3.
Issue 3,
Volume 3.
You did the studying, so this is the pop quiz. I'm trying to see if you can get the answers right.
If you expected me to study, you're like every teacher I ever had in high school, going to be incredibly disappointed.
Yeah, so we're doing a Kickstarter to dual Kickstarter. We're raising money to print the 3rd issue of Ninja Bear, and we're also producing another. We're producing a what we call an action plush because it's a superhero character, so we don't do stuffed animals. We do action plush. It's
right.
Much more than that. And this one's the new action plush 2.0.
Right. Do we want to show people this early in the show action plush 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was gonna save it, but like, let's just throw everything out there.
We'll make the sound. Like this is 6 million. It's so fluffy.
This just came in the mail today. So, what is? I'll tell the backstory. Back in 2017, we did a Kickstarter, the first Ninja Bear Kickstarter, to raise money to produce a line of handmade Ninja Bear plushes, and they did really, really well, to the point where ever since then we've been having people, it's almost like nobody cares about the story that I wrote. It's almost like they just want stuffed animals. So people have been asking about when we're going to have more of them, and ultimately, like, having one person like create, because I think we had this one woman who did it, we commissioned to do it. She produced 60 individual bears for us, and I think she might be dead now. I don't know, but it's
Did
not
you kill her by making her make 60 bears.
I think so.
We might. What you're implying? That Ninja Bear has committed a homicide?
But no, indirectly. But so it's not a sustainable business model to have one poor woman having to sew all of these bears by hand. So we've been trying to figure out like what are their options, and the internet provides. And so we found this company. What's the name here? I want to prep because they've actually been really good. They're called Stuffed Animal Pros, and they're one of those companies that does like custom plush. Like there's a lot of companies out there that do like send them in a picture of your kid's like crayon drawing and they'll somehow turn it into a stuffed animal. So it's very expensive, like, custom made plush thing, but there's not many of them that'll actually produce like mass quantities. Like you can actually like go to them as an indie, publisher or whatever and say like, hey, I want merch. Can you produce a whole line of bears and not have me have to sell all of the homes that my family have ever owned? And this company does a really good job with that. And they've been very good in communicating back and forth with my nitpicky notes and things like that. And then it just so happened that the plush showed up today. And to show, let me hold on one second.
I thought that might not be JD.
Sorry,
who said must have the thing.
What?
Jen King says she must have the thing, but she said it as the experience. And I'm like, it might be JD. I could see him getting behind a plushie of a ninja bear, but it's Jen King who says she had to go over to YouTube so that she can comment as her.
Well, I was going to, I should have probably prepped this before we started recording, but as a side comparison, this was the original Ninja Bear plush that we had made. So it's charming. There's, it's nice. It's good for what it is. And then this is the new one. So you can see obviously quality has really increased, just sheer, just having a team that does this for a living exclusively,
right. Not having someone's aunt do it in her basement.
Basically, and it's not to say that, the woman that we had hired, like she did an excellent job, but
sure. We're not denigrating what she did, but
absolutely not. It's nice to be able to take that thing up and take it up a notch and actually be able to produce it in the quantity, as I say in the thing, the quantity that people want and the quality that we at Red Stylo Media demand. Yes.
And I work enough with you guys. JD, I am also experienced the magic of Ninja Bear Plush 2.0. No, it's funny. I work a lot. I work with you guys on other things. So I know how you and Enrica and the folks there at Red Stylo think, and you wouldn't put out the Ninja Bear plush if the Ninja Bear plush wasn't perfect.
Yeah, I mean, perfect is a bit of a stretch. But
well, that was more or less a backhanded dig at Enrica, but still.
But no, we did. I'm very happy with it. Particularly as the guy who actually created the thing. It's easy enough. And I'm not the kind of guy who's going to like hassle people until they like make my vision the reality I expect it to be. I'm the kind of guy who will be like, it's like, oh, it's not exactly the way I wanted it to be, but I guess I'll just live with it. I don't want to cause a hassle. I'll be like, well, it's not perfect, but I guess it'll do. But I'm very happy with this. So like, say, I don't even have complaints about this. Like the quality is great. And actually, I'll tell you, my son, who is he's not even 2 years old yet. He's going to be 2 in a couple of weeks, about a month. He's been trolling me for the last few months now. I have this like collection behind me of all the Ninja Bear stuff, and every time he sees it, he points to the character and says "mouse, mouse, mouse" because he's trolling me. But this plush looks so good that when I pulled it out of the box this afternoon, he grabbed it and he's like "Ninja Bear," and he's never said that before.
So that's the piece of content you need. You need to film him saying that.
Yeah,
put that on your Kickstarter, and it'll hit projects we love.
That's what I was just saying too. Well, we already are a project that they love. We love it, but they love it too, apparently.
Great.
It's actually, I think that's like we've done 3 Ninja Bear Kickstarters, and I think all of them have become projects that everyone loves.
So we hung out last night, and we did a thing that I think the internet would really enjoy, which is watching you draw while we talk about non sequiturs.
Yes.
Which is totally what we're going to do. But before we do that, I wanted to... There was something that you had told me that I wanted to give you an opportunity to expound upon and elaborate on and walk me through it like I'm a 3-year-old.
Are we talking about the infamous missing issue 2?
Well, you have issue 1. Then there's
debacle.
a volume 2, and then this is issue 3.
Yes.
So explain how this is. Explain this, and why is it not saying 1 C D? Why is it not trying to count Cyrillic?
Well, I'm going to, while we discuss this, I'm actually going to do this if you don't mind. And
Oh
have
yes, do it.
stuff going on since I'm full screen and I don't want to stare at my big bald head anymore. So
I will
anyway,
make your big bald head bigger though. I'm gonna full screen.
stay on screen with me. I don't need this to be bigger. Jesus.
No.
Anyway, so I guess part of it is to kind of there's a bit of a backstory to like the Ninja Bear thing entirely. Ninja Bear was a character that I've been sort of like toying with since college. It's one of those things where it's like, this thing that I used to doodle in my sketchbook a lot. I went to school for animation, so I had a sketchbook with me all the time, and I was, always doodling things. There's a variety of different characters I was, experimenting with, and Ninja Bear was one of them. And I had a series of stories for Ninja Bear, like standalone stories, but I knew that if I ever were to do a Ninja Bear series in the future, I wanted him, it's kind of a Legend of Zelda kind of thing. He's on an overarching quest that links everything together, but each issue is sort of a standalone like adventure, like a dungeon or something, like a level. Like it's every individual issue is an episode in and of itself that feeds into the bigger narrative, but that at the end of those 24 pages, that story is wrapped up in a nice little bow, and then we can move on to the next one. So at the time, I didn't know what that overarching story was going to be. I just knew I had a handful of these standalone individual pieces. And then fast forward years later, and I'm like almost a decade into working as a graphic designer for the most part, instead of drawing comics and things. And so I was looking for an excuse to draw something. And I pulled out one of those Ninja Bear stories, and I'm like, the heck with it. I don't care if I don't have like a clear idea, because this is the other thing I always like to, whenever I touch on this, I like to, for any other creatives out there, like if you have ideas that you're sort of sitting on because you feel like it's not polished or whatever, just get it out there. Because it's like, if it's good enough that you can actually execute on it, just do it and get it out there and then see what happens, because it's not going to do anything just sitting in your brain. So that's what I did with this. I did one of the Ninja Bear stories I wanted to kind of see in reality. It was called Azawaddle's Curse, and it was him fighting a giant fish monster. And I did it as a standalone, and I put it on the internet as you do with things, and people seemed to like it. In particular, Enrica Jang of Red Stylo Media, who I'd been working with for years at that point, producing comics with her. She saw it and she was like, I want to do stuff with that. I want to print that. I want to make a plush. I want to like make an amusement park. And so we haven't got to that third part yet, but we did the first two. When we did the first Kickstarter, that was when I was like, okay, maybe I can actually turn this into a thing. So I actually sat down and worked out like, all right, let me get a better idea of what this overarching thing is going to be. And let me work out like what this make it so it actually would work as a comic book series. And then that's where we got Ninja Bear official #1 Village of the Odo, which was kickstarted back in 2017, because I'm very slow. That's why we're on issue 3 now. Village of the Odo was kickstarted back in 2017, written, illustrated, sent to print. And so then I had two stories. I had this official issue 1, 24-page comic. And then I had this other 12-page story, which I kind of had an idea of where it lived in the chronology of Ninja Bear. And I needed to figure out, because again, I'm a purist. If I'm going to put out an issue, I want it to be a full 24 pages. What I ended up doing is writing another 12-page story that bridged those two. And then that became one half of issue 3. So there is technically an issue 3 that's just never seen print. Issue 3 consists of two 12-page stories: Ninja Bear in Out of Darkness and Ninja Bear Azawaddle's Curse. And they work together to bridge the events of issue #1 to Azawaddle's Curse, and then kind of brings us now into the issue that we're actually trying to Kickstarter to have printed now, which is issue #3. But when it came time to consider printing issue 2, everybody had already seen one half of it since 2016. So it didn't make much sense to put effort into trying to print just that by itself. Where's the motivation if we're going to do a Kickstarter? That's what we did last year for this. So what we ended up doing was deciding, let's wrap up all of this stuff, since now I kind of have a better idea of where this series is going to go, and I actually can like start actually doing it properly. Let's sort of wrap up the last couple of years and do volume 1 that sort of puts a bookend on the previous kind of prep stuff I had done. and sort of kicks off now with number 3, where everything's a lot like story-wise, everything's a lot more solid, and I'm sort of moving in a specific direction and treating it more like a proper series, if any of that makes sense. Feel free, Kyle, to tell me if I'm rambling too much.
I'm just sitting there going, so you have issue 1, then you have issue 2A and issue 2B.
Yes. Or
and
not.
Now this is issue 3. And despite the fact that it's all sorts of confusing, you still have basically 2 issues out, 48 pages, and you've got another 24 coming.
Yeah.
So you have a nice 72-page book in another year's time.
Well, that's the thing too. And it's volume 1 that we put out last year, which is available through our current Kickstarter if you want to grab a copy and like get yourself caught up with the story, if you care. It's 80 pages of stuff, like, because it's 3 Ninja Bear stories, 1 24-page story, 2 12-page individual 12-page stories that make up issue 2. And then there's another like 3-page short that I had done a year previous. And then there's a whole bunch of like, I just kind of packed the rest of the book, with all this kind of like bonus. I have these really great pinup pieces that were done by some friends of mine that I had, gotten to do some illustrations of Ninja Bear in over the previous years. So those are in there. And then there's a whole gallery of like all this behind the scenes stuff where I go into detail about everything I just kind of like rambled about the last 10 minutes here. All this like behind the scenes sketches and notes and things like that, explaining sort of where ideas came from and how they evolved, which, is personally, and I can't speak for everybody in the comic book industry, but like, for me, whenever I get like a trade or something and it's got that kind of gallery of behind the scenes stuff in the back, that's always my favorite part, is to being able to read, where the ideas came from and being able to see the early sketches and exploration of the characters that you ended up reading in the previous story. So, I don't know if that interests anybody else, but I got it out there. So
Richard Ship is in the comments. What's up, people? Ship, go back Mark's Kickstarter. He is your neighbor. We will. So let's switch over and let's draw some things. Because
how do you want to do that? I
promised live drawing. Go ahead and just share that screen.
Oh, see, in thing. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, in StreamYard. Yeah.
StreamYard has new things I'm not familiar with.
Mm-hmm. So Mark and I were on the cutting edge of StreamYard together for a while in October of last year.
Well, you were on the cutting edge, and I was kind of like tagging along, like, where are we going today, Kyle? Huh? What's going on? Oh, boy.
See, and now we just go like this, and there is the page.
Hey, and there's the page. We can
watch him drive. We can watch him draw.
Yes. Watch me draw while I ramble.
Yes. Can you zoom in? So.
Yeah, I'm just transitioning my camera back.
No, you're good, man.
I'm going to zoom in remember as we discussed last night, is the zooming in on stuff as to the point where you couldn't tell what the heck I was doing.
It's true.
See?
Yeah.
Doing that again.
Yeah.
And this is
kind of like a genie.
This is the great part too, because this is the most embarrassing part of the drawing process for me, is where you get to see me rough out stuff and realize like, oh, he doesn't really know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, so you can kind of see the figure that. Tell everybody who the big genie-looking guy is, the guy with the tail.
Okay, so I'll tell you about. So in Ninja Bear, so as I said, that our overarching story that I didn't know about until a couple years ago. So Ninja Bear has he has his sensei, his teacher, whatever you want to call it, master, whatever. He is he's called the Master, which is this issue number 3 is the Master's Journey, and his teacher, his master, disappears one night, and Ninja Bear finds, at their encampment where they live and train, he comes out one evening to find his master seems to be gone. And when he comes out to his tent, you can see this in issue number 1. There's a flashback sequence. You see he finds this strange shadowy figure called the Black Mage is there. and there's no sign of what happened to his teacher, his master. And so that's sort of the catalyst. He fights the Black Mage beats him, and that sets Ninja Bear on his quest to try to find, just to get revenge on the Black Mage and discover what happened to his teacher. And this issue here, issue 3, is where we do another like flashback kind of thing, where we get to see how Ninja Bear and his master came to meet, and how the Black Mage got tied into all of this. And this charming looking individual right here is the Black Mage in the past. He has a different form in the present of the story, but in the past, when the master comes across him, he looks like this, kind of inspired by Pumpkinhead.
He's got some Venom / Carnage in there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that too. That I think was more because he's sort of an amorphous, like gaseous figure. I think any
Right.
amorphous, muscular yet structurally unsound villain is going to have like a Venom Carnage kind of vibe to it.
They all look like the same, like people from Sweden.
Are you saying people from Sweden all look the same, or
Yes.
people from Sweden all look like Carnage?
They all look the same.
Not like Carnage.
Well, no, I guess not.
No. Could they? Imagine if it was like a whole country of people that just looked like Venom or Carnage.
Isn't that kind of the first? Isn't that kind of the whole premise of what Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman just did? There's a whole planet of them.
Yeah,
Ship. You can purchase Volume 1 as part of a Kickstarter running now. Link in the comments.
What was that?
Richard Ship wanted to know how he could buy Volume 1.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's in the Kickstarter right now. You can get it.
Is there any way we can like share the Kickstarter link on here?
The link is already in the comments.
Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, go check out. We're actually I'm going to
Boom.
I'm going to like panhandle a little bit here or whatever, but we're not quite where we need to be, and I'm not sure why. I think part of it is the fact that I have a full-time job outside of this and a child, and that does not lend itself to comics, especially indie comics that aren't your full-time job. So we do need to like kind of hit some goals. The Kickstarter is going to be ending. Was it
6 days?
Yeah, it's on the 29th. What day is that next week?
That is.
Let
Let me open a calendar because I don't know what today is. It's a week from today.
Thursday. Yeah. So yeah, I guess
1 week from now.
now. So I'm going to be doing a lot now that I have this guy. I don't know if anybody can still see me. Now that I have this guy, I'm going to be.
I can put you back on screen. Hold on.
Now that I have this guy in my clutches, I squeeze him. I'm going to be doing a lot more showing him off. So if you want to get a better look at that, you can follow the Kickstarter and decide if you want to do like one of those last minute pledges, just to like, maybe I'll like sit on a live during the last like hour so everybody can watch me physically sweat while we wait for like, so somebody who wants to just like enjoy watching me suffer can like, post the final bit of money at the very last second.
If you do that, me and Enrico will be there just for
Exactly.
the suffering
No, it's
part.
and I
Just
honestly
for the Schadenfreude.
I should honestly do my marketing should be entirely based on watching me squirm, because I think people would enjoy that. Just be like, oh, watch that chubby bald man sweat as he wonders if his dreams are gonna come true.
Ninja Bear, the comic funded by Schadenfreude.
Yes.
I love watching you draw, because you draw kind of the way I think, where a line shows up and then it goes away really fast, and then another line shows up and it's like, that's the same line. No, it isn't.
It's slightly better than the previous line. The thing is, I don't know if you've ever seen so there's a lot of artists out there who put drawing videos on social media, not just live drawing, but like they'll record themselves doing a piece and then they sort of like play it really fast. So you watch this like fast forward kind of thing, and then it resolves itself into the final piece.
Believe it or not, I have a show. We're developing a show on that concept alone.
Yeah, that's a good show. I'd watch that show. But because the thing about that is that when you actually do it, you realize like, oh, wow. Because I've watched people do that and I'm like, wow, these people are fantastic artists. I wish I was as confident as they were. And then I've done that with my own work since. And I realized like, oh, anybody whose stuff is sped up 10 times, they look really confident. But as I said last night, what? No, I was going to say.
We're developing a whole show where it's just, those things where it's like 4 hours of satisfying videos. Like
like
on YouTube.
Like visual ASMR kind of thing.
Yes, that's what we're working on.
Good.
with our artist friends.
It's better than like watching people like smush cakes or something. That makes me uncomfortable.
True.
But no, it's like I was saying last night, and I'll say it again because we have an actual audience tonight. Is the I like do like the old man thing of like, I can't believe these kids love to sit on YouTube and watch other people play video games. When I was a kid, you wanted to play the video games. Having to watch somebody and wait your turn was the worst part of video games. But like the amount of time I'll spend online watching other artists draw when I could be drawing myself, then you realize like, oh, I'm no better than they are.
So are we ready to start inking this?
In a moment. Don't rush me. Sorry.
If your editor's not here to yell at you, your friends have to be.
Yes, I need somebody to yell at me. It's what makes me get stuff done. Honestly, if it wasn't for people yelling at me to get stuff done, I would probably never get anything done. See, this is where I cheat because like I got to make sure the scale of the characters is right compared to each other, and stuff. Make sure everything's so. I don't know if you've had other artists on here who will talk about, but silhouette is one of the most important things when it comes to doing a character pose. If anybody cares about technique stuff, you want to make sure that your character, what they're doing, reads. If I were to just make this completely solid black silhouette, you'd still want to be able to tell what they're actually doing in order to make sure that your pose is really strong. And again, not to say that I'm an expert at any of this, but that's the rules that you're supposed to live by.
Sure.
You say so.
You're the artist, man.
I mean, in quotes. Put that in quotes.
I'm just the guy who shows up and occasionally makes fart jokes on the internet.
Well, a lot of people make fart jokes on the internet. It's like 90. Like the internet is it's like 75% fart jokes, 25% cat videos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Seems about right. I did the math,
Yeah, no, it's just, you're inking, which is the part where I start to get fascinated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're fascinated now, you should watch me ink on actual paper. It's funny, the first Ninja Bear comic, As a Waddle's Curse, was done on paper because, again, the purist in me was like, I'm going to do it. And again, that's where it comes down to doing it for fun. When I have to do it because it needs to get done in any specific amount of time, I'll do it digitally because it's so much faster. But if I can do it on my own time and nobody's like expecting it to be finished at any point, then I'll have the confidence to do it on paper because I have the opportunity to like experiment and take my time. Like doing it on paper, when you don't work physically majority of the time, and like as I said, like I have a day job, like I'm doing like animation and graphic design. So I spend all of my time in front of a computer, and it's just so much easier and faster for me to do things digitally than it is to do things physically. So I only do it for funsies, but you should see me ink for real. It just becomes a big mess. But it's for me, inking is a lot of fun. It's nice to be able to like start to just put big swaths of black across a page and start to fill stuff out. To me, it's like, for a lot, there's some artists I like where I love to see their pencil work before they ink it and clean it up because there's a lot of character, there's a lot of elements to a sketch that you just can't preserve in ink. And obviously, like you have to just kind of ink it and clean it up, and whether it's animation or comics or whatever, the illustration has to be cleaned up to be put out. But there is a charming element to sketches, some artists in particular, though I can't think of any, so don't ask me to name any off the top of my head. I don't put myself in that category, but there's a lot of charm to a rough sketch before things get locked down, and you can see there's like a lot of, there's a lot of innate like character and motion, to certain sketches, which there's a little part of me that feels sad when it gets inked and that goes away. But
yeah, but then you get the nice black outlines and the colors come next, which give you that motion back.
Well, that was when I was in college and I was really digging into being, because like, a little unnecessary background information. Like when I was in high school, I was that guy who drew comics all the time. And honestly, when it came to mainstream comics, I didn't know that there was such a thing really as like indie comics. It just never like occurred to me. I knew there was like superhero stuff with like Marvel and DC. And that's not really, I like some of that stuff, but it's not really my thing so much. I like other kinds of stuff, more like kind of experimental or outsider kind of comics. And when I was in high school, it just never really, and I mean, I was aware that there was like old school comics like Popeye and stuff like that were like comic strips or like comic books, but for some reason it never clicked in my head that like anybody in this day and age cared about that stuff. I was just assumed, not being a big comic book nerd, that it was all Supermen's and X-Men's and various types of men's and some ladies thrown in there just for good measure. But then obviously I towards the end of high school, I learned like, oh, I'm an idiot. There's a lot of other kinds of stuff. Oh, did I get
that long, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm, again, not the sharpest tool in the drawer, but, when I was in college, I got really into like, kind of the, alternative comics, like, like Milk and Cheese, or like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. That was one of my favorites as a creepy goth kid. Note the skeletons on my shirt tonight. I have to close this and reopen it. Remember how this happened last night?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes for some reason Photoshop, like the viewer stops working for me and I have to like shut it down. You and I had a long discussion last night about my need for a new graphics card, which I think would fix that, but I don't know for sure. But anyway, I had a point to what I was saying, and it was, oh yes. So when I actually started getting into like making my own comics and stuff, one of the things I love to do is just grab like a Sharpie and just fill as much of the page with just black ink as I could, because I just thought it looked good. Now, not so much.
Yeah. I know a lot of artists who start off that way. Where it's just, let's just throw Sharpie at the page.
Well, I think there's an element of it where if you're not confident in your line and your structure and your shapes and stuff like that, like there's a lot you can hide and like use like a lot of thick black Sharpie or any kind of whatever ink you're using to kind of hide things that you're not proud of or confident in. It hides your secrets from the viewing public. And I think at least that was an element of it for me. I don't know if other artists are as insecure as I am, but at least young prepubescent Mark was. Post-pubescent Mark is just tired.
It's true, though. But so what made you decide that you wanted to go into illustration, or you wanted to go into, drawing and design?
Well, as I said, I was like the comic book guy in high school, but it was really, I think, more driven by my love of writing and storytelling. And I don't know, I think a lot of people who start out in comics I've heard a lot of like people who say they kind of start out in comics for that way too, is that it's an easy, like making comic books is the easiest way to do visual storytelling. Especially back, in the 90s when like not everybody had a computer with Flash installed on it where you could like make videos for E-Bombs World or something. So, being able to make these comics and write stories that way and have visuals to go with them and then share them with people and get feedback and stuff like that was a lot of fun. When it came time to go to college, like I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think I was kind of like eking towards an idea of like I'll be an artist of some kind. I basically was like, I just want to kind of keep doing what I was doing in high school. And my mother was like, I don't care what you major in, but I want all of my children to have bachelor's degrees so that they could be successful, because that's the way the economy works apparently. But so what I thought was I'll go, I want to be, I basically at that point had been like, I guess I'm going to like kind of pursue the idea of making comics and telling stories and stuff like that. But when I was thinking about college, I'm like, you know what I'll do? I'll make the smart choice, quote unquote, and I'll major in animation because the school I was looking at had that. And that way I'll have like two skills. I'll be an illustrator and an animator, and then nothing will stop me from being completely broke for the rest of my life. And so yeah, it's just kind of something I just sort of like fell into. I think it's like there's a lot of like, everybody kind of draws when they're a kid, and that's like an easy way for you to like get ideas across, especially before you know how to write really well, like letters. And some people just never grow out of it. It's like wetting the bed. Some people just never grow out of wetting the bed. Not that that's me. I mean, I've said too much.
There's a weird echo all of a sudden.
Is that on my end or?
No, I think it's on mine.
Oh, okay. As long as it's not my fault.
No, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But so your degree is in animation, and you're working currently as a graphic designer, right?
Well, graphic designer and motion graphics animator. So it's similar. I studied character animation, but there's not a whole lot of that work in Boston, and I don't know. I'm not like an LA kind of guy, so I don't want to like move to California as of yet.
Sure. But where I was going with this is, how different is the work you do for Ninja Bear and the work you do with Red Stylo compared to like what you do for your day job?
I mean, they're drastically different in a lot of ways. Obviously, just sheer because of just the kind of work that you're doing. I mean, and what I'm doing right now is very similar to what I've been doing graphic design and motion graphics work for the majority of my career, as a way of making money. But I've always done sort of stuff on the side, like projects, stuff like that. Like the stuff that I do at work is not illustrative. It's not character driven. There's similar ideas in storytelling, like when businesses, when it comes to marketing and stuff like that, especially nowadays, it's becoming more prevalent. The idea of like, marketing is not just a matter of telling your audience like what it is your company does. It's telling the story of like who your company is and who your team is and like what your ideals are. Like any company has ideals besides making money, but so there's similarities there in this sort of idea of like storytelling and creative problem solving. But other than that, I mean, then aside from that, there's, in comics and stuff like that, obviously there's a lot of character stuff. There's a lot of, character driven storytelling and things like that. So, I mean, that's, obviously the biggest difference between the two. But the cool thing is that in terms of kind of mental skills that they both take, there is a bit of a crossover, and trying to like, to me anyway, like storytelling, whether it's a character driven thing like a Ninja Bear or how to like announce this thing, like a new thing that a company's putting out. Like there's an element of storytelling that is almost like a puzzle. The pieces are there and it's just a matter of arranging them in the way that they fit best and make the most sense, at the end of the project.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm talking process wise.
Process wise.
Are you thumbnailing and then creating these things and thumbnailing Ninja Bear and creating these things? Or do you have?
Well, yeah. So every creative project has that period of like for lack of a better term, like, just call it thumbnailing overall, but like sort of the conceptualizing, the figuring out like what this thing is going to be, how it's going to look and how it's going to like actually play out. When it comes to the work that I do, the conceptualizing can be a bit more challenging because there's a time limit. And a lot of times there's elements where I have to skip certain stages where, like with Ninja Bear, for example, because it's a personal project, I can take the time to do it right and like not stress myself out over it and actually be able to like, think about an idea and take some time to dwell on it, give it time to kind of like come to fruition on its own without forcing it. Where in day job and in this is kind of like, this is sort of working for like a job versus doing something for yourself. Even with, whether it's my day job or even the work that I do with Red Stylo and stuff like that, like there is this element of like, this needs to be done in a certain time frame. So you have to approach it from the smartest, work smarter, not harder kind of way. So there's a lot of like steps that you skip over. So like with Ninja Bear, I'll take a lot of time to like, figure out like, what is this scene going to look like? What is this character going to look like this version right here of this Black Mage character. Like I've been agonizing over how he's going to look for a while before I started drawing and, the actual comic. because I wanted them to look a specific way, and I just wasn't. It took me a while to nail that. So I was able to do, but I had the luxury of taking the time to sort it out before it became like a thing that now has a time limit connected to it. Whereas with work stuff, it's like, I have a video that needs to be turned around in 2 weeks. So here's a rough idea of what the script is going to be. Flesh that out, flesh out some visuals, and keep in mind I think one of the biggest differences between what I do in Red Stylo, like with comics, because in comics, you're dealing with other like-minded people. Like even Enrica, who like she can't draw herself, but she's a writer, she's an artist, she has an artistic mind, and she's familiar with the format. So like you can show her, terrible thumbnails, and she can look at those next to a script and be able to get an idea of where you're going and being able to tell you like, is this going to work or not? When I'm working in like my day job, the people I'm answering to are not really creative people. They don't do creative stuff for a living. So they're much more literal people from a visual standpoint. And so when I present stuff to them, which is still an ideation point where it's not ready to go, it's just sort of like we're trying to figure out where we're going to go. It needs to be presented in the most polished way possible, because you don't want to give there can't be a whole lot of room for interpretation. You need to kind of show them exactly what you're expecting this thing to look like. And that can take a lot of work to try to do that quickly, because you can't be sure that whatever you're about to show them, like they could say like, that's terrible, we're not going to go with that, we're going to go with something completely different. And so whatever you presented them better not have taken you 2 weeks to put together, because then that's 2 weeks of time you're not going to get back. So I think that I think digging into it, I think that's probably the biggest difference between doing like marketing stuff versus being able to like work with like comic books and other like storytelling like-minded people. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Now you say yes because you just want me to stop talking, or?
You know me so well. No, I'm kidding. No, it does. So my freelance path has been very different. My design and that kind of stuff path has been very different in that I've always been a freelancer. Like I work for me. So like having to do those things is a relatively new experience for me and it's something I'm doing now, but it's a relatively new experience. And so, when I talk to someone who is creating something of their own, like you are with Ninja Bear,
mm-hmm.
and then on the other side, you've got this kind of job that is similar but different.
Yeah.
In that regard, I'm always interested in how people pursue and approach that.
Well, it's funny too, because a majority of my career I have worked as a freelancer, still doing the same graphic designs and motion graphic stuff that I've been talking about. And in that realm, like there's an element too of like if you're being hired as a freelancer to produce a video for a company because they just don't have they're small or whatever, they don't have the resources to produce that in-house, they need to go to somebody, they don't have any clue how any of that stuff is ddone. Mm-hmm. And so then there's the added bonus challenge of now I have to not only do the work and work with, because your work is, as in that kind of thing, you're working, with the client. You're not working for the client. And that's a big like phrasing thing when it comes to freelancing. Like, it's important to freelancers to keep that in mind. You're not working for your client. You're working with your client, because they're coming to you because mm-hmm. you can do things that they just don't have knowledge in, and you're coming to them because they have work to offer to pay you. Right. But it is a collaboration. It's not a guy shouting orders at you and then you go and execute those orders. It's you going in and working with them to find out like, what is this project all about? And ultimately, what is the goals that you want this project to hit so that you can execute to the best of your abilities. Now, that being said, there is an element, because these people don't have that in their day-to-day, office life, that creative department or whatever, there is this element of having to educate them on the process. So like, there's a lot of times where I've done video work, freelance video work for a company as like a one-off video where I have to walk them through the process and explain to them how the process works and sort of hold their hand during presentation stuff to get them to understand, like, I'm going to show you a series of stills, And you're going to have to do a little bit of imagination on your part to imagine what they might look like moving, because I'm not going to fully animate this thing only to have you then turn around and say, we're not using this. And also you're like 2 weeks over time, Right. So, and again, when you're doing freelance, time is a big deal, because the longer you spend on a project, the less money you're ultimately making. Because if your project goes over, they're not going to, unless you've got it contracted in. And a lot of times you're not going to get a lot. You're not going to get paid like extra for overtime. There's no overtime in freelance. You get, it's like you need to get the project out and move on to the next one as quickly as possible. And so it's important to make sure that like the people you're working with understand like their responsibilities and metering their expectations of what they're going to see at each stage of the process.
Correct. No. So we've got about just a little over 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So let's, JD, can you put the link in the comments once more for Mark's Kickstarter? 6 days left to go. It ends a week from today for Ninja Bear Issue 3, which we went over earlier how that might be confusing, but Mark did a great job of explaining to you or explaining why it is the way it is. And we're watching him draw. What's the name of the character again?
The Black Mage.
The Black Mage.
He's a happy guy.
Right. And this, and well, that was what I was going to ask is like, so can we show them, can we show the folks once you finish the jawline there, kind of the page progression here?
I'm gonna fix that because he's starting to look like Quagmire from Family Guy. Yeah, so this is the page thing. And actually, let me go, because we're doing this thing. I might as well showcase as much as we can. Like I said, if you're interested, if any of this interests you, go take a look at the Kickstarter and consider backing it. Even if you just want to grab a copy of the book or one of these fancy plushes. I don't know if I'm back on camera or not. But we have action.
But
yep.
Now you are.
Toy. Look at it.
It's so fluffy, I could die.
So fluffy.
Wait, where's my pages? Like, got so many folders here. So yeah, so I'm going to pull up a couple of things here to show you. So like, this is the page previous to that. So this is a nice big splash page where we reveal, this is my reveal of the Black Mage. This isn't colored completely. I just threw some colors on it because I wanted to put parts of this up on social media. You might see it if you go to like at Ninja Bear Comic on Instagram or at Ninja Bear Comic on Facebook. You'll see some cropped versions of this, but this is the big splash reveal of the Black Mage in this like original form. And then this is sort of where he now gets to do his like villain dialogue. Where he's being all like, he's being all like evil, but like really chill about it,
Right. And so the panel you've been working on, he's laughing. Yes.
There's a bunch of ha-has, little Joker reference here, because I love those illustrations of the Joker where they have like just a flat background of just the ha-ha-ha-ha-has. So I like the opportunity to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
I'm a hack.
Well, I imagine that the Black Mage will have an English accent.
He could,
even though it's culturally inappropriate.
That's the beautiful part about comic books is literally the characters can sound like whatever you want them to sound like.
He sounds like Tim Curry. He sounds like Tim Curry. We all know he sounds like Tim Curry.
It's pre-stroke or post-stroke Tim Curry.
Not funny.
No, I love Tim Curry, and actually, I heard him. He was in something recently.
Tim Curry from Dunstan checks in, by the way.
He was. Oh, yeah. No, but Tim Curry still does. He did something recently where I was just like, wow, that man still got it. His voice is amazing. Here's another page. This one's one of the more recent ones that was finished coloring. So this is an illustration I'm fairly proud of. Look at that tree. That's a good tree.
That is a good tree.
And then here's another still here. Here's a mysterious figure. I wonder who that could be. If you're familiar with it, you might be able to guess. And here's an example of how I hate myself.
South Park.
Yes.
And Miss Jen, you asked for them earlier. They're your happy little trees.
Yes, my happy little. This is a Bob Ross style.
And one unhappy tree.
This is the Bob Ross style happy little tree.
You have a bunch of happy little trees, and then one very unhappy tree that seems to have been blown up.
Bob Ross didn't put a lot of effort into me. And then here's a panel that shows how much I hate myself because I'm going to make myself color this. So that's fun.
That's when you leave black and white. Just a random line art page.
It's the only one that's going to be just black and white, and I'll just be like, it's artistic. I'll call it like a special variant.
Right.
And
it's a
then
half splash that's only black and white. Yes.
Here's some other. This is another thing we talked about last night. Is we talked about like the process of making comics, and like, you know, all comic artists start out with like roughing out, you know, thumbnails, and they do thumbnails of varying levels of quality, myself included. Like, so like here's a page, for example, that's in its rough state. I'm going to be working on this very soon. I'm also going to be, if you follow at Ninja Bear Comic on Instagram or at Ninja Bear Comic on Facebook, I've been like doing secret live streams at night of drawing these pages. So if you ever want to watch more of this without listening to me babble, you can do that. But so like, here's a page that you can pretty much see what's happening. It's pretty clear what the action is. And then just juxtaposition like we did last night, Kyle. Here is another thumbnail where only I know what's happening.
It's true.
Feel free to guess what any of these panels could be representing.
Well, that one's a Ninja Bear, and that other one's a Ninja Bear.
That these three don't. Even though you thought this last one was just a topographical illustration of America.
Well, because the top right-hand corner looks vaguely like Maine.
I suppose.
I mean, Ninja Bear is getting very Five Goes West in that last panel.
Yeah, no, it is. He's basically, now it's going to just be Five Goes West, and he's going to hang out with Dom DeLuise, and it's going to be... Actually, that's the voice of the Black Mage. It's Dom DeLuise.
You said Dom DeLuise, and I heard Dom Rickles.
Yeah. No, Don Rickles will
What,
be
you
the...
a ninja and a bear? I don't understand. Like,
I don't understand. You got a ninja, you got a bear, you got a Black Mage. What's going on?
Right.
No, the fox will be Don Rickles. And the demon will be Dom DeLuise. We've got this thing cast. This is going to be good.
yes.
I can get my people on the phone.
We'll get Dom Herrera to play the fox.
I love Dom Herrera. He's hilarious. Let's just
Yep.
talk about guys that we think are funny.
Let's talk about people named Dom.
Well, Don or Dom or Don,
Right.
DAWN.
Right. Any combination of that syllable.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we're running out the clock here, what else?
We got about 5 minutes.
What other questions do you have for me?
Well, so let's do the thing where we're both on screen for a minute here,
Yeah, you
and
do that.
tell everybody where they can follow you on the social medias, where they can support your work other than the Kickstarter, but also the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, right now the Kickstarter is sort of my focus. The only thing I put out like consistently is Ninja Bear. So, and consistently is in quotes, but the only big ongoing project I have is Ninja Bear. So if you follow Ninja Bear Comic on pretty much everything social media wise, I'm mostly active on Instagram. I'm also have a personal Instagram, Agent Mark 85, because I'm a nerd. So you can find me there. Instagram's really the only social media platform that I understand. So it's pretty much the only one that I use. So if you're interested in seeing any more of my stuff, you can check me out there. I don't know. I occasionally do a podcast with a friend of mine called Who Cares? That's also posted to like Instagram and stuff. So if you care about listening to me babble more, with less visuals, then you can check that out as well.
Well, and then so like I said, the Kickstarter links are in the comments on this video. Go back to Kickstarter. It's got less than a week to go. It ends a week from today. And you can show them the plushie again. One of the things you can get is this guy. I ordered one. Action plush.
Look, I'm an adult. But yeah, no, check out. I mean, like, I do urge everybody, because like I said, we're a little behind where we want to be for this last week. So I urge everybody to at least go and look at the Kickstarter page, you know, and then if you feel your finger itching towards that pledge button, feel free to do it. If you feel that it looks like something that like somebody in your family might like, you can share it with them. Despite the horrific nature of the monster I've been illustrating during this talk, Ninja Bear is an all ages friendly series. And it's actually interesting because Ninja Bear as a character, he does not ever speak. There's no dialogue. So all of his communication is done visually, which I think really connects with the younger readers who may not be great with their words like I am. And, so it's I think makes it slightly more accessible to a wider audience. So, check it out for that reason too. But if you check out the Kickstarter and there's any questions that you may have that might push you in the direction of hitting the pledge button, feel free to comment on the Kickstarter campaign or hunt me down on Instagram. Like I said, that's where I spend most of my time. So Ninja Bear Comic or Agent Mark 85 on Instagram. You can hunt me down there and ask me questions directly about anything about the Kickstarter that might, you feel like I might be doing wrong and I could do to improve. So
is there a retailer level on your Kickstarter?
No, we did that for volume 1 last year. And, there was a couple of people interested, but we didn't. We talked about doing it this time, and basically were said that we would wait and see what the response was, because the last year we did the retailer level, we added it in after a couple of retailers reached out to us. So we figured we'd wait and see.
Well, I know there are a couple of retailers here who have reached out to me since we've gone live and said, hey, tell them to add a retailer level.
I will talk to my publisher about that. She loves retailer levels. They were her favorite.
I will talk to your publisher about it too and make sure she makes you do it.
Let's do it separately, though, in text messages to really stress her out.
Right, but in the same group chat.
No, separate text. So she's like getting pinged by you while I'm pinging her, and then she has to jump back and forth and doesn't know what's happening. That's how you win.
Okay, that's fair. I'm good with that. So everybody head over to Kickstarter for Ninja Bear. Links are in the comments. I'm going to ask everyone one question they couldn't possibly be prepared for.
Okay.
If you were stuck on a desert island with one record, one book, and one movie, what would you choose?
I have multiple answers to that question. None of them I'm proud of. Yeah, honestly, I think movie-wise, there's a variety of different movies I would be happy with, especially anything with DVD commentary. I suppose maybe Evil Dead version 1 would be something I could enjoy watching over and over again. Variety of bad movies. I mean, all kinds of stuff. But I think maybe I'll throw Evil Dead out there because that's a fun one. Just in terms of, the creativity that went into making that movie. I love dissecting every scene in that.
Right.
Book-wise, I don't know. There's a lot of
Ninja Bear Volume 1?
Like to reread. No, not that one. No, that's no, that one I can't think of off the top of my head. I think there's too many books. I would be happy with any one of them. A number of comic books that I would be happy with. A number of other books. All right.
Hey, Marguerite says she's proud of you for saying Evil Dead. Marguerite Mullaney.
That's my aunt. Yes. If the name gave you.
Right.
You got so much of my family just streaming with me for 2 nights in a row. So you're welcome.
All right, man, we're up against it. So real quick, one record, and then remember, Ninja Bear on Instagram or Ninja Bear Comic on Instagram, and back to Kickstarter. Links are in the comments.
One record, maybe something by Tom Waits. Maybe
Perfect.
Yeah, just anything by Tom Waits.
All right, guys.
Put that one out there.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. For Mark, I've been Kyle. This has been Talking Shop. You're watching The Experience. Stay tuned next for Miss Jen's show, What's in the Box, where they try and figure out what's in the box.
So it's not a Seven reference?
No.
Okay.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.